Greetings, everyone. So, I've been thinking about this video for a while, and I've been doing some thinking about people from my past, maybe former friendships, more so like acquaintanceship, where you kind of get to know someone, but you don't really form much of a friendship. It's kind of like in the beginning stages. They're kind of on the outskirts of your life, more like an acquaintanceship. Maybe it's somebody that you work with, or maybe you order dog food from this person, whatever it is. And sometimes it's people in your family, whether those are the always the tricky ones. Could be someone in your immediate family, like in your close family, or it could also be someone who's more distant, like a second or third cousin or uncle by marriage or someone that you don't see a lot. That could be too. Could even be someone in your immediate family that you're not real close to because maybe you had an age difference. Like, for example, my oldest sister was about approximately 20 something years older than me. And I'm not talking about my sister. I'm just saying, like, there's something that I had been thinking of, just thinking of my younger years and just life in general. And I started thinking about, I watched a few of Dr. Ramani narcissism videos. I don't watch as many as I used to, but she's one of my favorite teachers regarding narcissism or psychopathy, especially due to her training. I like Dr. Les Carter as well. Michelle Nieves, despite the fact she does not have a college education regarding narcissism, I especially like her take. And I used to watch a lot of her videos. She had covered a lot about covert narcissism, or you might call it vulnerable narcissism. Whom else? Obviously, Ollie Matthews. I don't even know if he does as many reviews as he used to. He's getting a lot of headache and stress from all of that. But he did actually do a really good job breaking down people's stories on that channel. Oh, there was another gal. Oh, her name was Meredith. I liked Meredith a lot too. She's, allegedly a Caucasian. I don't really buy into all these labels people have, but she's a lighter skinned person living in Mexico. And her name's Meredith. I really liked her a lot as well. So I got to thinking, because going through chemo, I have to rest a lot. So I've been trying to do more reading. And the only reason I'm not reading as much as I'd like is because I need to purchase a good reading lamp. I had one and I broke it. Oh, that's a whole nother story. I didn't break it all the way. It's a long story. So when I can get my good reading in is when I go to bed. I've got two beautiful lamps I got from Lamps Plus on both sides of my bed. And I use that to read, and then I can see pretty well. So anyways, that being said, started thinking about these individuals that I had. The majority of these people I was thinking about were more like acquaintanceships, or they could have been friendships that broke apart years ago for whatever reason. You went off and did your thing, or whatever it is. And sometimes when you're around a more narcissistic, or I like to say abusive or manipulative person, like you're in the mix, Maybe you go to a state fair or like a local fair. Oh, I used to love going to those. You're in the minute, or you're in the mood. You're at the club dancing, or you're just having a good time. So when you're around a person that's more like manipulative in nature, you sometimes you don't know it until you look back on it and you say, I always kind of knew something was a little wrong, but I really wasn't sure what it was. And it's not that you were like particularly judging the person. You were just like, it's like your spirit or your spirit, something didn't feel right about them. Like if you grow up with a lot of empathy, I did grow up with a lot of empathy. My mother was amazing at it. No, my father wasn't so great, but he had his moments. So, especially as I got older, everything got worked out as much as you can. So, when you're around people that are more empathetic, that's kind of like your set point. Unless you develop narcissistic not skills, but characteristics or tactics for some reason. Maybe it's because you're in school, like you're surrounded by people that have these kind of ways, and you start to pick them up for different reasons. To me, it's fascinating, nature versus nurture. I would really like to do some more research into that. Layman's perspective, laywoman's perspective. But I started thinking about it, and I was just thinking of these different interactions that I had with these various people. And like something was not right, but at the time I wasn't really sure what it was. And it was lack of empathy. A lot of times, especially if you're not aware, like back in the day, I wasn't aware. I knew there were people in my family I liked to stay away from because they were jerks or they were always putting me down. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. But I look at when I was 38 years old, I had a near-death experience, two near-death experiences where I saw the white light, but I didn't float off, because I was too scared actually. And I had severe allergic reactions, and there were people in my life that should have cared about me, and they literally either did nothing to help me or two were unwilling to do anything to help me after I got out of the hospital, or three were just very indifferent. That was one experience I was thinking of. Even certain medical professionals, not all of them, absolutely not all of them, but like you kind of don't think about it unless you really dive deep into things for yourself. I mean, I'm always working on myself. I work on healing all the time. I absolutely don't have it figured out, but I'm working on it. So it's just weird. I'm like, wow, I remember this person, and when this and this and this happened, they didn't show any empathy at all. It was weird, actually. And if you really, like nowadays, I'm too perceptive, like that would never fly with me, and I can feel it real fast. Like some people that I've befriended, they're very empathetic, very caring, compassionate, and I've deduced this very, very fast. Whereas when I was younger, you know how it is when you're younger, especially if you got a lot of dysfunction in your family, which I think a lot of us do. I think most of us have some. But it's kind of like you're just floating along and you just go with what you're naturally used to. The more healthy families that have boundaries, a lot of love, caring, helping one another, those families usually, I mean, not all the time, sometimes they get tricked too, but they tend to be a little better at discerning things that are not good for them. So, yeah, it's just so weird. So, lack of empathy. So I remember that, when I went into the hospital, I almost died. Anyways, severe allergic reaction. It was very scary. I was 38 years old. I had an amazing doctor who saved my life. And then a team of doctors who kept me alive. But at that age, I was quite scared. I think a lot of people are, if you're looking death right in the eyeballs. But that's one thing I could think of. The college that I was attending, I had to wind up going back to college, to school, right? To make up work because I missed a lot because I was so sick. And they were amazing. Man, that the college I attended, they were very good to me. So that was like, in a way, it was duality because on one hand you have very uncaring people with no empathy, and then on the other side there were a lot of people loving, compassionate, caring. I think about some of my romantic relationships in which there were, like, you have a fight, or you going back and forth. When I look back on it, I think it was kind of there was a little bit of trauma cycle going on, but lack of empathy. Like, if you're dating a person and you're crying because your feelings are being hurt, and they're just pulling you along and playing with your head, and they don't show compassion, it's a real problem, you guys. I remember I don't want to say too much of the details, but I'll just say this. I was doing a lot of walking, and I had blisters on my feet. And the person that I was with, who was supposed to be a friend, showed zero empathy. I knew something was off. At the time, especially when there were other people around saying, hey, wait a minute, she can't walk. And that all worked out in the end. I was able to rest my feet and everything healed. But sometimes, like, you kind of know something, something feels a little weird, or you just get this strange feeling. Like, I think intuition and gut instinct are a little different. When you have something really in your gut, you can feel it in your gut. That gut instinct is usually what can save your life. Something really bad's about to happen, and let's say a truck comes barreling down the street, and you grab your girlfriend, you push her out of the way, and you save her life. Things like that. Intuition is more, this is my interpretation. Intuition is more like ethereal. It's kind of like you're in touch with like the ether worlds, or the other worlds, the worlds that we don't see with our own eyes. Some people see them. I think that's more intuition. What do they call it? Like when you're practicing the old ways are a little more witchy. All witches are not bad, by the way. It depends on what your intentions are when you intend to manifest. Anyhow. Oh, I was going to just say, you've got claircognizance, which is like a clear knowing, like you know. I like to use Dr. Reverend Beckwith as an example because I had watched the movie The Secret, and I'm going to get back to lack of empathy. But I had watched the movie The Secret over 200 times, probably at this point over 300. Probably should brush up on it again because when I watch that movie or I read the book, it incorporates itself into my psyche. So, lack of empathy can tell you something, you know? But a lot of times you might not be able to discern it. Like, say, for example, you went out with your friends. And I'm just using like going to a state fair, because I really enjoy that. Going to see music shows or going to see the cows and the chickens. And I just think it's a ball to me. And then you got all the food, you know, some good food, some healthy food, some not so healthy food. It's just so much fun. And I personally I didn't do lots of drinking, whereas some people do way too much drinking at those places. And I don't see the thrill about that. But so say you're out with a whole bunch of friends. Okay, actually, I have kind of a similar experience. So I'm going to kind of mesh one of my experiences with the fictitious one I'm going to make up. So say you're out with a bunch of your friends. You're going to, I'm going to use a Summerfest because my origin, you know, the one on earth is Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then I lived in the country and a few other places. But say you're at the Summerfest, you're going to go see, I don't know, Tool. You know, one can dream, right? Say you're going to go watch Tool. And let's just say that you've already watched a concert, you're having a blast. But now you're just really tired. Let's say it's like 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock. You've been walking in the sunshine all day. You're just really tired. You're a little bit dehydrated. And how you got to the fest is like some of you carpooled, and then you all met at the Summerfest to save on parking. So this is one thing I don't do anymore, but you're somewhat relying on someone else to give you a ride home. And they're just not respecting that you would like to go home. Talked about this when, you know, you used to go, back in the day I used to like to hit the nightclubs. I still do, to be honest. It's a lot weirder now, though. With the cell phones, I really don't like it. It's all just... I went to the club a little bit with a friend of mine, a little bit before I had my hip replacement, and it was freaking weird as hell. Weird as hell. And I felt a little strange dancing with, you know, like dancing around these super young guys. It was like, I don't know, it gave me a freak, like weird, creepy feeling. So me, I would rather, like if I went out to the club now, I'd prefer to go around people that are older. They don't necessarily have to be Gen Xers, but at least 40 and up. You know what I mean? Or else it gets kind of, yeah, it's like there's no boundaries. It's just weird. So anyways, about the cell phones. It was weird. So say you're at Summerfest and you're relying on, let's say Janet. Janet's supposed to give you a ride home. She's just acting stupid. Well, I don't want to leave yet. Like, let's stay until the fest closes. Let's just say the fest closes at 2. I don't know when it closes. And she's just being, like, rude. That's lack of empathy. If you know your friend is really tired, and me, I'm fair skinned. I had this experience once. It was very similar to what I'm talking about now. And I thought I was getting heat exhaustion because I don't know if I put sunscreen on. I probably did. But being out in the baking sun for like 8 to 10 hours, one is not good for anyone, even if you are drinking a lot of water. But for me, it's really not good. And the people that I was with were pretty much like, I don't want to go home, all this stuff. So, something like that is just a clear lack of empathy. You don't care that my foot hurts or that I'm tired and I want to go home. Maybe I want to feed my cat because, he didn't eat or, whatever it is. It's disrespectful and it's rude. But you might not catch it because of the fact that you're surrounded by all these other friends. You're all having a good old time, And then it's real easy, especially in a group setting, to interject guilt. Oh, you party pooper. Man, how many times I gave into that one. Man, I'll never give into that one now. But, but yeah, so there's that, when I was walking and I had blisters on my feet, certain individuals were not really, they didn't seem to care that I was hurting. What else? I use the example, you're at the festival and nobody wants to go home and you're reliant on Janet to give you a ride and she really doesn't care. She doesn't care that you're tired. She doesn't care that your foot hurts. She doesn't care that you have to get home and feed your cat. She doesn't care. So, yeah, anyways, I'm trying to link this all together to you so you can kind of see the pattern that I was seeing. And yeah, I also remember, I went in for surgery. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but there were certain individuals around me that, were minimizing what I was going through and comparing it to something they went through years ago. And I remember at the time, I was like, wow. So I'm sitting here laid up, but now it's about you. You know what I mean? So, law of attraction is real, as I've stated. That's my belief system. You don't have to believe it. It's fine. Believe whatever you want to believe. But as I've said, empaths attract narcissists and manipulative, abusive type people. People want to whine all day, oh, narcissism this and narcissism that, try to discredit all of it. One, a lot of times people saying that stuff don't even understand it. And a lot of times what I've noticed is people that are more narcissistic or manipulative in nature, they're the ones who try to discredit it. So, yeah, anyways, I just noticed that, a lot of times medical, we all go through those things, medical issues. Or I remember once many years ago, I was quite young, and I had to have an oral surgery because my teeth were very crooked. And I was grateful when I was in the military, I was able to get all this orthodontic work because I had a, how do you explain this? An overbite that was causing me a lot of problems. I don't know if where I'm at in my life now, if I would have gotten that surgery. But anyways, some of the people around me were, to say the least, had zero empathy. So yeah, I did see a, pattern with that, with the whole, maybe you had a surgery or knee surgeries, or maybe you're sick. They are some of the, I can't even say least compassionate, because that would imply they actually have compassion. They have zero. So a lot of times they won't even acknowledge what you're going through. They might change the subject. They might say, we're going to be late for work. Oh, I want to explain that whole oral surgery, but I don't want to share all my personal stuff. Maybe one day. And what's the other thing? Well, I'll probably explain this one day. I'm not ashamed of it. It was a very foolish, idiotic thing I did when I was younger. But I had to go to jail once. It's for petty theft of, I'm totally fine with the whole world knowing. Couldn't care less. I stole a lipstick. Oh boy. And the reason I was taken into jail, I didn't actually like sit in a cell. They didn't make me do that. But it was because I had a lot of parking tickets that I didn't have the money to pay for. So that's really what landed me in bigger trouble. So the cops were very nice to me, actually. Um, but I'll never forget it. I called someone that I was close to help me, and she hung up on me, laughed at me, and hung up on me. I'll never forget that. But, I guess I really wasn't super in jail because I was able to call someone else, and they helped me. Because I wasn't going to go anywhere until those tickets were paid. It was a mess. But I'm grateful to that person who helped me, and I won't forget that. And I had to pay them back and everything like that. But yeah, like the times where you're going through something very difficult, challenging, hurtful, painful, humiliating, excruciating, they won't ever be there for you. So once you start to see that pattern, like I'm saying, if it's a relative, someone that's in your family. Now with someone that you thought was your friend, me personally, cut them all off. That's the way I look at it. But I know there's certain people, they have different viewpoints. Now with your family, I don't think it's as easy. But lack of empathy really is, let's see, what is my time here? Lack of empathy, a lot of times, is very hard to discern. It's very hard to discern. And people that know that they're not like other people, that they don't have like real true compassion or empathy, they've studied people for years. People that are true empaths, true kind-hearted, compassionate people. And they try to mirror it. Some of them are very good at it. I happen to believe that people whom are very good at mirroring true empathy belong a lot of times in the dark triad. And the dark triad consists of, let's see if I can remember this. The dark triad consists of narcissism. I'm going to have to look this up. Psychopathy. Hold on, I'm going to look it up. Wow, I can't believe I had forgotten that. As soon as I read it, I was like, oh yeah. I think I'm going to remember the Tupac song to help me remember it. Machiavellianism, which basically is manipulation. But I'm here to tell you, if you ever come across a dark triad, Man, get out of there, man. And with me, the few times that I've dealt with these kinds of people, I didn't realize it until way later. Man, my wind chimes sound good. So, another absolute red flag Ola to me. And this is a freaking deal breaker. Anyone who does not show compassion or empathy for animals, or say that your pet died and you can tell it's just like you just took out the garbage can, like it's not a big deal. That's a super deal breaker for me. Or if I ever find out that someone has hurt an animal, immediately in my mind, I usually don't say anything. I mean, rarely do I come across people that are like this, but it happens once in a blue moon. Because law of attraction, if you're good at manifesting, you will have less and less encounters like that. But again, without being redundant, I don't want to talk about narcissists versus empaths, how the attraction, But if I ever find out a person does not care about animals, has no compassion towards them, or this happened to me not too long ago. I found out an individual, I don't want to say the whole thing, but put it like this. This person had harmed animals. That's all I'm going to say. I already knew right then, sayonara. Sayonara. That is a true indication of psychopathy. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or an expert, which I do not like that word. But all you have to do is do a little reading. Even go and look at a lot of a lot of those crime shows where they talk about mass murderers or someone who murdered their wife or child or whatever it is. A lot of them started with animals. Anyone that is cruel, uncaring, zero compassion toward an animal, I just keep it moving. So, I hope I tied this together nicely. I'm going to hit the hay early. I have chemo tomorrow. It's going to be my 4th chemo, a total of 6. So anyways, you guys, hope this was helpful. If you ever sense or feel a lack of empathy, the best thing you can do is to get away from that person or persons, if at all possible. Peace.